My precious right hand. What a Canadian immigrant accomplished with God's help after the experts failed. Number 1 of series Sticking to It by Peter Hoover, originally of Ontario, Canada. Metamorphose Publishing, Pennsylvania, USA. Chapter 1 of 5. Frau Siemens to the Rescue. Oh, the Peter. Here comes the Peter again. What do you think I can do for you today? Frau Siemens made me smile. No one would have ever talked to me like this but her. Short, friendly, bursting with kindness and goodwill, Frau Siemens lived just west of Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario, Canada, during the mid-1960s. Even though I had almost turned 6, not exactly a little boy anymore, I still loved it when Frau Siemens took me into her arms. Her whole house, rich with the scent of wintergreen, always seemed brightly lit and warm, especially on snowy January days, as the vast glistening lake sparkled in the sun, or in the springtime when cold fresh winds came ripping in from the southwest. Inside Frau Siemens' cozy house, nothing reigned but cleanliness and heavenly peace. Not only peace, but blessing. So, Peter, she would ask, what can you do with your arm now? Can you bend it? Completely? Let me see. Swift, strong, but with infinitely gentle hands, she would clasp my arm and flex it, this way and that, to evaluate the progress. Better, much, much better, she would declare, beaming all over. But now, before I start to work on your arm, what about some tea for your parents and some Lebkuchen for you? Lebkuchen is a kind of sweet pastry. Frau Helena Siemens of Niagara-on-the-Lake utterly transformed my life, physically. But now, the older I get, the more I realize how much she also influenced my life in a spiritual way, not only for time and space, but for eternity. It all started back home in the Conestoga Valley of southern Ontario, when my dad cut down a large weeping willow tree behind our house. You must do something about this old tree, my mom kept reminding him. Hardly any water comes through the tubes in the basement anymore, and even worse, the drains no longer work like they should. Those willow roots have crawled into everything, always seeking water. The day Dad and my older brothers cut down the willow tree, hard work with a 2-man crosscut saw, my youngest sister Susie and I discovered a wonderful new spot to play. A huge flat stump. We met on top of the stump to play meeting with one another. That is, she managed the dolls and teddy bears while I did the preaching. Sometimes we sat on the stump to eat fresh strawberries in milk, with bits of bread floating about within it. Then, one fine summer day, we decided to play monkey. A monkey dance, I called it. How do monkeys dance? Susie asked. Just like this, I declared. But before I knew what had happened, I found myself sprawled on the grass with a searing pain in my elbow and up my arm to the shoulder. I do not remember exactly how it went, but my oldest brother recently told me that I came into the summer kitchen, matter-of-factly declaring, "I have just broken my arm." "Oh, I don't think so," one of my older sisters laughed. "Arms just don't break that easily." But when she came to check it out, she screamed, "Mom, quick! Something terrible has happened with Peter." Mom came running and saw it all in a glance. My elbow, still all within my skin, protruded wickedly, probably an inch or more, outside of what used to be my elbow. Mom did not scream. She knew how to handle things, and sent one of the girls to the neighbors to ask for a person with a car. We needed medical assistance at once. In the meanwhile, Mom cleaned me up, put shoes on me, and quickly changed to a going-to-town dress for herself, black with little white dots, and her apron. Sarah Beringer, our closest neighbor with a car, came within minutes. Her big puffy sedan, Chevrolet 1950, light green, with a funny little visor sticking out over its windshield, split in two with an upright crack in the middle. Sarah, ready to go. Riding in a car. A novel and exciting event in spite of the pain in my arm. We sailed down the 11th line, a paved highway, past the villages of Hawksville, the Roman Catholics at St. Clement's, and the Lutherans at Heidelberg. We careened around Wagner's Corner, past Martin's Meeting House, Orvie Chance's farm, and right into the bustling city of Waterloo. Sarah knew how to drive, but this time, oh no! Screaming for dear life, a woman suddenly appeared on the hood of our car. She had tried to cross King Street, but Sarah, in her haste, had missed seeing her and hit her. Screeching tires and smoke. As long as I live, I will never forget the terrified face so suddenly appearing before us. Did she get hurt? Thankfully not. Not very much, at least. Sarah apologized profusely out the window, and we kept zooming on. At the hospital, Dr. John Talon, a kind and gentle man, tried to set my elbow back in place. I also have a boy called Peter, he told me. In fact, we have 5 boys and only 1 girl. I liked Dr. Talon, even though Mom had to translate his words for me. I did not understand English. Several weeks later, after Dr. Talon sawed off my cast, he looked startled. "Can you bend your elbow?" he asked me. I shook my head. "Can you move your fingers?" I tried over and over, but nothing happened. All of my fingers on my right hand stayed completely rigid, twisted in a strange way, and my elbow would not bend at all. Dr. Talon, shaking his head, told Mom, "There is no other way. We will have to operate again. Peter cannot live the rest of his life with a useless arm, especially," he added, "since he is right-handed." Mom, sober, but especially kind, took me back to the admissions desk at the hospital. Another operation, and later, yet another one. 3 good attempts at fixing my elbow, but nothing worked. Finally, with both Mom and Dad in Dr. Talon's office, he sadly told us, "I am really sorry, but there is nothing more we can do for Peter. Something has gone permanently wrong with the nervous system that manages his elbow and his arm. But do not despair." He brightened up a bit. "Talented therapists would be happy to help Peter to relearn how to eat, write, and do all necessary functions on his left arm. It is hard, but with much practice he may well learn how to do that. It is good he is still so young. All the better to learn skills with." Mom and Dad accepted the news calmly and with Christian grace, but they were sad. Possibly even more sad than me. What will Peter ever be able to do? Mom wondered on the way home on the bus. How could he support himself or have a family? Dad, thinking positively, said maybe he could learn how to make horse harnesses like Matthias and Benuel down at Hawksville, or maybe he could work with plants like Greenhouse Henry. Mom did not look convinced. But everything changed. Everything turned a corner once Nikolai Goosen's mother came from Brazil. Nikolai, with his wife and children, had become good friends of our family. They, with his mother and a number of his siblings, had escaped the Soviet Union at the end of the Second World War. They landed as refugees in southern Brazil, and from there found their way to Canada. They found a house to rent in the city of Kitchener, and now Nikolai's mother also managed to come to Canada, but only for a visit. When the Goosens brought their frail elderly mother to visit our farm, she loved it at once. Oh, I cannot even tell you how much this beautiful farm, all these workhorses, these milk cows, this huge garden, the fruit trees, all the neighbors close by, and even your flocks of geese and ducks make me think I am right back home in Lichtfelde on the Molochna in Russia. Oh, how it makes me think of what all we lost in the war. But more than exclaiming about our beautiful Mennonite farm and the wonderful food we shared, she noticed and quickly checked out my arm. Something is wrong here, she said, but it is not in the elbow and not in the hand. It must come further back. Gently massaging and moving my damaged arm, she moved up to my shoulder and suddenly, triumphantly, she declared, "Aha! Praise God! Right here I found it. When you fell from the stump, you must have pinched the nerves that control your right arm and hand. That can be fixed." Mom, Dad, and all the others in the large farmhouse kitchen stopped talking to listen. This can definitely be fixed with repeated and skilled massage. We do this with hot poultices and oil of wintergreen. But, Frau Goosen puckered her forehead, I cannot do it for you. I am scheduled to fly back to Brazil next week, and I cannot change my flight. Silence in the kitchen. Then Nikolai, her son, said, I know who could do it. Her name is Frau Helena Siemens, and she lives at Niagara-on-the-Lake. But how would you, without a car, get down there regularly, time after time, probably for close to a year? Oh, don't you worry, Dad hurriedly assured him. We will find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Even, Dad chuckled, if we have to drive all the way down to Niagara with our horse and buggy. Frau Goosen flew back to Brazil. Later, her son Nikolai drove all the way back to Brazil as well, with his wife and children in a rolling home, skipping some of the most difficult stretches where they parked their vehicle on local ferries and rickety boats. But just before Christmas, in 1965, together with Mom and a young man from our church named Anson Martin, I found myself on the way to Niagara-on-the-Lake. Even though I cringed and drew back from other doctors that checked out my paralyzed arm, I quickly and firmly decided that Frau Siemens was, somehow, different. A person to trust. And personally, I knew she liked me, even though what she did often hurt. Strong, capable hands she had. What was it? A light in her eyes as she looked me over. She understood, and I knew she cared.